What's going on, everybody? This is the fourth episode of What's Your Hustle podcast. I'm here with Ben Savory. He's going to tell us a little bit about what he does, and then we're going to get into some really intense questions, almost with a spotlight. I'm just kidding. We're going to talk a little bit about your business, what you do, maybe go a little backstory of how we connected, and then maybe see where it goes from there. All right?
Sounds great.
So go ahead, introduce yourself a little bit. Give me a little rundown of your business.
Yeah, so I'm Ben Savory. I run Summit Events Co. We are a event elevation company, so we take good events and we make them better. We are most active in the wedding industry. We work a lot of weddings in the Shenandoah Valley, Loudoun County, DC, and beyond. For us, our prime service is wedding DJ, sound and MC services. That is where we spend most of our time providing for our clients. We also do photo booths, 360 booths, uplighting, and a bunch of other add-ons. Some of the ones we're most excited about include our 1965 Aero Chief camper that we've turned into a photo booth and lounge experience, which is really fun. And really, though, whatever we need to do to bring your vision to life, we come in and consult, create, and then execute that event. So for many of us, this has been a journey of taking something we were passionate about, good times, events, parties, providing memorable experiences, and creating a career out of it.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's to kind of give a little backstory. That's how we got connected.
Yes.
Is I was videoing a wedding that you were DJing, and Artie was the photographer. And he kind of, I always like to, introduce myself, especially if we're stealing audio, get in early and but he really kind of made the connection. And then I kind of think we've just been Facebook friends since. Mm-hmm. I've talked to you and reached out to you about networking a little bit. You gave me some good insight there. But yeah, no, that sounds exciting. Yeah. So how did you start? So did you start with just DJing or?
Yeah. So I wish I had known even earlier that I could do this, but I began in middle school. My cousin would pick me up really early on Sunday mornings and take me to record church service on a tape deck. And so that was kind of where I started running soundboards, mixers, and tape decks and other recordings for this church service that we attended. And in middle school, later ended up running the soundboard for youth group, and then in high school, helping out a little bit with other sound and lights for an organization called Young Life. And then in college, I studied theater, performance, and directing, and ended up doing a lot of the sound practicums. Actually, not as many as I would have liked because I was trying to branch out and do more things. But during the summers, I would work and run sound at different camps.
Okay.
And so those were kind of my summer jobs. A lot of friends would go off to amusement parks or summer stock theater, and I would go to these summer camps and run sound. So from there, I just got a good natural finger on the pulse for what got people moving and excited, what songs were back then, before it was called that, trending, and learning how to read a room and just knowing what works, what people like, how to fill dead air.
Sure.
Time between things, if it's dead quiet, can get really awkward. And the second there's sound, everybody relaxes and they're like, oh, this is supposed to be happening.
Background noise, something
Exactly.
to kind of break the tension.
Which is exactly why batters have walk-up tracks. It gives something energizing to what was previously a dead space.
Yeah.
Around that time, graduating college and grad school, friends are getting married. I was working for Young Life at this point and had access to sound equipment and would just go to these friends' weddings I was going to be going to anyway and help them out with a microphone. Or, look, I can play a playlist, but we'll have great speakers. I didn't know how to DJ. I just knew how to fill a room with music, get from song to song, and really at the time, just thought I was doing something to help out, make a couple $100. Was never going to go off and create a business model out of it. But after a few years of just doing like one or two a year, we moved from the Pittsburgh area down here. My wife started teaching.
Sidebar: I am the least Pittsburgh fan of anything. My family's from Baltimore, so it's
Got it.
It's
I was never a real big sports guy. I
Sure.
grew up in theater, so Pittsburgh was cool to me for the venues and the architecture and the things that they have a lot to do. It's a cool place.
that is true. I do have to say, from a sports perspective, I'm like, ew, Pittsburgh. But if you look at like the architecture in that area, it's amazing. Like
It's really cool.
it's a really cool city to visit outside of the sporting world.
For me, what happened next was a friend of mine named Chris Jardy, who was also on Young Life staff, worked with students with special needs, reached out and said, hey, I noticed that you have done a couple weddings. I've got a wedding that I can't do. I've started doing the same thing, but I'm double booked. Would you want to do it? And I said, sure. And it was at Rosemont in Berryville.
Okay.
Did a wedding there for them, got the equipment together, pulled it off. And again, I was pretty upfront. I was like, I'm not a real DJ. Like, I can just play really good songs,
Yeah.
you know, like, but they loved it. And there was a gentleman there who was a wedding coordinator for the venue. His name is Michael Haymaker. He was like, I really think we could offer you a lot of opportunity if you would like to work here again, and we
Grow.
could add you to our list. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And I had no idea at the time that like that single yes would blow up into a company where we're doing, you know, over 300 events in 2023. So I do owe a lot to him and to all the other wedding planners and venues that were open to this new guy
coming in.
But kind of my spiel back then was I can play good tunes. I am approachable. Like, I am a comfortable person that you can walk up and talk to.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be cringy. And I don't know if anybody's been to a bad wedding, but a bad DJ really does make a very bad experience. And it was one of those times where I was sitting at a friend's wedding. This one was in Arizona. And I was just like, I could do better. Like, I could do this, and this would be so much more fun. And I decided to try. And so from there, we just kept getting invited back by whether it was venues or planners or bridesmaids or groomsmen or friends at that wedding. And from there, that was about 2017.
Okay.
So it's been 6 years or so.
Which is crazy. When people say 2017, I'm like, oh, just a couple years ago.
Yeah, it just
It's like,
happened.
no, that was like 6 years ago, which is mind blowing.
I know. I have like
that's
whole.
awesome.
Yeah, I've had a whole child grow up and start elementary school pretty much in that time. And so the crux of the moment, though, for Summit events was it's been a while now. Last May, not this one, but the one before.
Okay.
May of 2022. I was still working with Chris Jardy, great friend, great guy. But by that point, he had officially decided that he was not going to be full-time in this arena, that he is a pastor in Northern Virginia, and was like, I'm going to stick doing that. I'll do this on the side. I will continue to grow. But for me, I'm going to keep it part-time. And I wanted to go full-time very much. And so I went full-time in 2019, then pandemic, and events were banned for a while. And unemployment dried up, and I was like, what do I do now? And my COVID plan was I became a home inspector with Old Town inspections with Ben Moorhead, and did that for a little over a year, and then by then events had ramped back up. And so really got our runway at the end of 2020. 2021, or sorry, the end of 2021.
When things started
to kind of ease up. We still had a lot of micro weddings, and I think what happened during that time was it allowed us to survive when a lot of companies didn't.
Okay.
And so coming out of the pandemic, we were posed to say yes to a lot of events because we were still around. We were still open. And so I owe Ben a lot for that opportunity, allowed us to keep doing this during that period. But having made it through to the other side, things really, really expanded for us, but venues can only do so much.
Sure.
And so there was this backlog of weddings because people still got engaged. They were quarantined together.
It's when you really
yeah,
know, right?
You really know. and it'd been over a year. I mean, people kept getting engaged. Like that didn't stop. And so then we had this whole backlog of couples who wanted to get married. So 2022 and into the spring of this year was crazy with Friday weddings, Sunday weddings, Monday weddings, Tuesday weddings. Just all weekend there would be events. And we got to May of 2022. And the kind of partnership that I had formed didn't work anymore because we were out of equipment.
Okay.
And we were just like, there was no more to be had. I had poured gas on this thing. It was taken off. I had trained all these people to do weddings with us and photo booths, and we were out of equipment. And it was May, which is a crazy busy time for us. September, October, and May are like the most important wedding months. And I had a decision to make, cancel these wedding contracts and refund an insane amount of money and ruin their weddings, or go find this equipment. I literally needed 4 sets of speakers, 4 mixers, 4 DJ controllers, 4 ceremony sound systems, 8 mics. I needed to go get it all.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay. I drove to a store in DC, Chuck Levin's, and bought it all. Dropped $12,000 to.
They probably loved you.
Loved me, and was like, "This is a new company. This is mine."
Yeah.
And so then the struggle of naming it, but that was when Summit Events Co. began. We launched in July officially. Very quick turnaround with website, branding, all platform, all of it. And we did 226 events in that calendar year. And then for 2023, we're on to do, we've already surpassed 310, and we still have all of November and December to do.
That's awesome. I didn't tell you this, and this is you're going to think it's made up. This morning when I was getting gas in Martinsburg, I walked in, and I was like, I'll get a breakfast sandwich, Somebody in front of me had a Summit Event Co. jacket. I don't know who it was.
Did they really?
Yeah, and because I was like, Summit Event, I know that name. I recognized it. I didn't know where from, and it was because when I reached out to you, I could so
because we had a name change, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Since we worked together.
Yeah. So that was one of those. I was like, Summit Event. It rang in my head, and then when you took your giant jacket off, I was like, what are the chances that the person in front of me this morning? Anyway.
Yeah. Whatever I can do to increase those chances. Good branding and marketing.
Yeah, get it out there. That's awesome. Okay, so it sounds like you kind of had a little bit of a hurdle to get over, right? With making sure, and that's usually a good problem to have. Is I don't have enough equipment for all of the gigs that I have. That's always a plus, but it is actually. I mean, I'm assuming that it's very stressful when you're like, okay, I have to do all these. It's kind of like a little bottleneck of how do I get, and then you just kind of make the decision to jump in and invest, and then hope that obviously you'll clear up for those events you have, but is it going to be continuously that much, right? Are you going to continue to grow that much? And it sounds like if you already surpassed what you did last year, that you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, we did, which is crazy.
It's good. So as far as industry, right? So weddings, events, how do you guys stay ahead of the curve, right? You always want to be innovating and offering new things. It sounds like you have a wide range of options with, different packages or however you break it down. But how do you kind of keep moving forward, I guess is a good way to put it.
So we try to keep to that vision of elevating events. And so if we see something that is making an event better, if we see something that's increasing the likelihood of people making memories, if we see something that is increasing joy, if we see something that is something that people talk about afterward, then that is something that we want to kind of hone in on. We want to pick apart. We want to see what the value is there. There are some things that are timeless, like music in general relatively timeless to events. People like having music, people like singing, people like dancing. It's very hard to do a multi-hour event without some sort of sound. However, other things come and go. Before talking about what's new, I thought photo booths would be a short-lived fad. I did not think that they would have this decade longevity and are still, I mean, we'll do almost 150 to 200 photo booth events a year.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? We physically own 4. We rent up to 3 more on other weekends. It is a high demand market that who knows where it'll be next year. But like for now, that was one that I was somewhat wrong about. Like I was like, we'll get it, but like this is going to last a couple years.
This is not going to.
It has become foundational for a lot of events because it really checks a lot of boxes. It gives people who people who don't like to dance something to do.
Yeah.
It gives people who do like to dance another fun thing to do.
Yeah.
It gives people something to create a memory. They physically get to take away something. It's instantly gratifying.
Yep.
You get it right in the moment. It prints out. You have it. The couple gets a photo album that goes home with them that night with all of their friends' notes and marks and love letters, death threats, all the things. And it's just too good to stop doing.
It's really, I mean, in the couple weddings that I've had this year, I think every single one of them, maybe not one of them, but they've had photo booth. They've had the 360 cameras, another one that is, I didn't think that it would be as popular because, I mean, it's a good idea, I think, in theory, but also I'm not really in the industry of renting 360 cameras or 360, I guess it's booths. But it is, I mean, the line
it's fun.
Was just wrapped around the whole thing. There was more people in line for that than on the dance floor at one point. I was like, that's insane. But you're right. It's a good way for people to instantly take something away from the day and then also give something to the couple, right, with putting it in the scrapbook and writing, you know, whatever their note is. It's a great idea also because then as, you know, for the couple, they get to see who was there. You know, it's a very fun way to kind of see the night.
Yeah, and you see it progress.
Yeah,
you know, as the ties
and you probably see people progress as well as the more and more they go to the bar, the more and more they're like, oh, I'll take a picture. I'll take another picture, which is good. That's awesome.
So as far as where things are going and how do we stay innovative, really we've built a collaborative space, I think, in our employee team because as event staff, we really barely cross over. We don't see each other all that much, especially if
you can move it if you need to.
They're a DJ. They're not going to be working another wedding that someone's already DJing.
Sure.
So we've built kind of I like it, but online community for our team, and there's a lot of good collaboration. Or somebody will see something and they'll bring it up
within Summit.
Okay. And that has helped us come up with ideas and move things forward. And I think people are just creative in general. But where I see weddings going right now, there has been such a, I don't know what the right word is, but explosion of creativity at weddings. People are working harder on individualizing their experience based on the things that make them them.
Okay.
So like cocktails now, the drink stirs will be their pets' heads. Like that's incredibly specific, right?
But that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. And the signs that they'll put up will have something that rhymes with their name or what and it's like it's taking the old Bennifer hashtag and making it into an entire immersive experience where you're getting to know the couple, or you know the couple already, but you are getting to see little Easter eggs and moments from their life displayed.
Yeah.
And so it's how do we keep up with that when it's an Etsy market, when it's a Pinterest market? Like what they're going for is something they've seen online and they're recreating it in their own image. It is really fun, but as far as marketing as a company goes, that might not be where we go. But for photo booths and things like that, we have graphic and custom design. so that we can create a more personalized experience where they're seeing mementos or tokens, or it's matching their invitations on their graphic overlay that everybody's engaged with during their photo or 360 booth. We're making giant props out of their pets' heads and having them in the photo booth, which is really, really fun.
That is like the definition of like changing or moving with the
just trying to stay relevant, but also have fun. Like that's fun. And one of the things we did, we got a camper. So which is going old to go new. We got a 1965 Aero Chief camper. Could sleep 4, but we use it as a lounge and photo booth. So we set up a boho style. We've had people use it as bars. We've had people rent it and use it as a pop-up store during Apple Blossom. It's a really versatile thing. The next thing in the pipeline, I got my hands on a 1968 Ford Bronco that we are going to be restoring into a getaway vehicle for the end of events.
Oh, so they can
drive off in it.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's really cool. Yeah, and it's also something, I mean, you see limo services, you see car services, but to have something that I'm assuming that it's going to be something you kind of customize or, make it look like one of one, but really kind of to me, I'm like, man,
we're just trying to have fun.
And that's exactly it. And to go back kind of a little bit about like you're talking about DJing with, the DJs that kind of, how can I put this as nice as possible? They don't know when to play a good song and a bad song, or like they get everybody on the dance floor and then they play a slow song. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, you can just see everybody just scatter. And as like a videographer, I'm like, oh, you had everybody. But no, that's awesome. As far as just like being innovative, right? And I mean, I've been at a couple weddings, whether shooting or just being at them, and stuff like that I haven't seen it, right? And I'm also not looking for it. But at the same time, like a getaway vehicle for them to kind of drive off in, that's clever. It like the ideas are turning. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited to see that.
Me too. Yeah. I want that to be done. But another thing we do is we try to like keep our aesthetics moving forward and innovative and sleek. So we're not just like a folding table with cords hanging off. Yeah. Like we have these DJ booths or DJ consoles where the decks are visible to the guests. You can see us mixing live. The speakers look like they should be at a wedding or at an event. They're not just big boxes on tripods with cords hanging everywhere. These are like column arrays. They look nice. Our lights look nice. You're not a littered backdrop. And in fact, a lot of the times we end up being one of the center focal pieces of the wedding because our setups and our rigs look good. And then that's nice and pleasant to have right on the dance floor so that you're engaging with the crowd. You're not off in a corner throwing sound over tables for a dance party that's way over there. Yeah. You're right there, and that helps guide the experience and reading the energy and reading the room, and people can ask for a song, and you're right there. They're not having to like take a journey. You. Yeah. And I think that is one of the things that I wrestle with, because as a business owner, I'm like, well, do we really have to buy the next thing? Do we really have to keep upgrading? And the answer is yes, you do. Yeah. And just like I'm sure it is difficult because every year there's a new camera with a better mirror and a better lens and a better flash.
Should I spend my savings? No. You are right, though. So you have to kind of make that decision of like, should I try to get the next thing? Should I take that next step? Or am I good with what I have now? Can I get through another season or through another year? That's very similar to the thought I had of this space that we're in now. Is I really kind of had to go back and forth of like, okay, do I still operate out of my house, or do I find somewhere where I can sit down and talk, or have people come in, have clients come in? So it is definitely one of those where it's like, you really got to, from a business perspective, decide, do I take that investment? Do I really kind of go that far? Or do I just keep doing what I'm doing because it's working and we're good? But again, going off of that, being innovative and kind of keeping up with the times, it can be a challenging decision for sure.
Yeah, and I think we face a slightly different problem in culture today when it comes to innovating and keeping up, and that the 24-hour news cycle, TikTok, social media in general, bads come and go much faster than the 80s and 90s, and even 2000s. But they are sometimes a weekend.
Yeah.
Like there are something that will go viral, and it is not worth trying to incorporate that into your business model. And then there are things that kind of rise to the top, just like anything else. There are things that stick around. The table challenge is one in weddings that is coming to mind, where I thought, oh, this is interesting, but we'll see how it goes. And it's an idea where couples get a picture with every table, but they try to do it in one song instead of eating up a half an hour of the reception, going to each and every table and saying hi. What
I'm thinking of my family, and I don't think that would be possible. I think we spent half the night. I mean, we planned a time in our timeline of seeing.
Well, you were
everybody.
intentional about it. It was important to you.
Yeah,
You
and we
scheduled
said,
that out.
look, this is what we have. We'll spend a couple minutes at each table, but we're staying within this time block because we like to party. My family, my in-laws. I think outside of that window of saying hi to everybody, we were on the dance floor the whole night, dancing with everybody. I mean, I'm not going to go too crazy. At one point, my grandmother was like, come on, let's do tequila shots. So I was like, holy smokes,
Let's go.
what's going on? But it's good to like that trending idea. Do you get a lot of people like last minute, like, hey, we want to do this? Or like,
I would say it happens for sure. And we do our best to say
accommodate.
yes. Yeah,
Sure.
we'll do, we'll try it. We'll do just about anything.
If you can make it work, right?
Yeah, if we can make it work and we can do it excellently. Or if it's like, this is going to be wild and we're just all up to see what happens.
Yeah.
Like, that's totally fine too.
High risk, high reward, right?
High risk, high reward. I feel that way with songs sometimes.
Sure.
The one, I mean, there was one, it was another friend's wedding, but for Birch Fields that he was doing, where they had a falcon bring the rings down the aisle.
Wow.
Like, yeah, who wouldn't want to try that?
I would love to try
I don't
that.
think it's going to trend.
I'd be terrified that it was like it. What if it just like kind of was like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm free. And then you're just like, well, there go the rings. But I'm assuming there's somebody, a trainer or somebody to kind of guide the assistants. But that is something I don't see it being a trend either, for sure.
No, but there are things to look at. Like, there are companies, and just like there are venues who have certain things they're comfortable with allowing.
Yeah.
There are unfortunately so many DJs that aren't comfortable playing music outside of their catalog, or aren't comfortable facilitating something outside of the norm, or like pets in weddings. I know I keep coming back to that, but that is like a huge thing that is happening right now. So like just like having their dogs walk down the aisle with, whether it's the rings, or having their cats just be present at the venue. Like it is happening more and more. And I had a wedding. I just DJ'd a wedding in Tucson 2 weeks ago, and they had brought out, it was at the Sonora, Arizona Desert Museum, and they brought out reptiles for cocktail hour. It was awesome. So like there are things that are going to happen, and just there's so much ground you can cover by saying yes. Yeah.
Well, also, it's one of those where you can plan as much as you can, but sometimes you got to be flexible in what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And say, like you said, yeah, sure, let's try it out. And I think you kind of got to read the couple a little bit, because obviously if they're excited about something that's a little bit crazy, you kind of build the guideline of like, look, it could go really great or it might not pan out. But as long as they're good with that, being able to kind of accommodate to that is the name of the game, right?
Yeah,
and that's how you get, because then if it does go off, then like, oh my gosh, we had someone come in and they did everything. It was great. Like, and then it just spreads, right? The word spreads that you guys are awesome, right? So like that's exactly that mindset of, yes, let's see what we can do.
And I think that is central to our MO, because that is what we focus on, is saying yes, being accommodating, being approachable, going above and beyond, and doing the things that create memories, not hurdles. And so
Sure.
And sometimes you are hit with a little bit of inspiration, and it's good to take risks. And there's something I started doing years ago. I just thought of it. And it's just like listening during the toasts. So the best man, maid of honor, whoever is speaking, and they drop just a little nugget of information. If I can connect one of those nuggets to a song and then play that song at the end of the toast while everybody's clapping, it is a huge win. And there was a dad at a rehearsal dinner the other night who mentioned a specific Beach Boys song that meant something to him when she was little. And he had not told me that in advance, but I went, bought the song on iTunes real quick because I didn't. It was an obscure song. I didn't have it.
Yeah.
And played it as he concluded his toast, and everyone registered what was happening. They didn't need to know the song. They knew it was the song.
Yeah.
And he looked like $1 million, not me.
And
to him, I was $1 million.
Yeah.
But to everybody else, they thought he had planned it. They thought that he had done it on purpose. And there was one the other night where a guy just was mentioning football, and I just played the NFL Monday Night Football theme right at the conclusion. Everybody busted out laughing. Like,
that's awesome.
Finding moments, staying present is so crucial in it being inspired. Like, you just have to stay there, and you can't treat it like another wedding, another gig. Like, this is these two people's best day of their life so far, and you're a part of that. That's a privilege. And so treating it with that as if it were, some of us have that experience already. If it were my wedding, what would I want this person to do? And sometimes it's, okay, when it's my turn, what would I want this person to do in this moment?
Yeah.
And you have to stay present to ask yourself that many times over 6 to 8 hours that you're at a wedding.
Yeah, and just keep looking for those little things, right? How can I make connections? Because, I mean, to be honest, that was probably one of the top moments of their night, right?
And it was so easy.
And again, just paying attention, taking that extra step. That's awesome. So I'm going to transition a little bit here. So with Summit, what do you guys do to kind of network, right? Obviously, you said you have a kind of community within Summit to kind of innovate. Do you do anything outside of that for like community or just to get involved in different things?
Yeah. So we do, we kind of have a 2-tiered approach. We have our mutual aid and nonprofit work, and then we have our kind of corporate networking.
Sure.
We try to offer at least 10% in value of our revenue for the year in service. And so I know that's complicated. Instead of just saying, oh, we give back 10%, we don't. We don't give away 10% in dollars. We give away at least 10% in our time. So what does that look like? We do free events for things that meet our criteria and our vision.
Not just,
not just somebody's wedding. We don't give away a free wedding as a raffle prize. That's not happening. But we are campaign partners for grade level reading with the literacy volunteers. And so one of our things is we're offering free DJ and photo booth services for reading incentives at elementary schools. So if your elementary school wants to have a campaign for reading, which you probably are already doing, where kids are going home and reading for a certain amount of minutes and things like that, we want to create an equitable party situation for them where every kid can come to a dance party. But let's say they read 100 minutes, they can get a glow stick. Or they read 200 minutes, they can request a song. We can create a really fun shout out with their name. Like,
which in elementary school,
8-year-olds love that.
Yeah.
So, and it costs us a Wednesday afternoon. Like, it just makes sense. So, school day events, high school, right? They get budgets.
Yeah. For
prom and homecoming, and other things they do out there the year. These elementary school students, they have family engagement nights. I mean, these are things where the school is fighting for these kids and for their success, for the relationships with their parents. Keeping them motivated, finding things they're interested in, dealing with all the hurdles. And we can come alongside of that. Not that high school kids aren't, but like those formative years. And they say that if a kid isn't on track by 3rd grade, it is so difficult to get them back.
That's completely believable.
And so we are part of that mission. So that's one of the things we do. And that, of course, just gets us in front of people, too. Like, I'm not going to lie that we don't meet other parents and we don't meet people who own businesses whose kids go to that school. Like there are trickle effects, but our goal there is to just provide a cool service for elementary school.
I mean, and it's giving like, and I don't know if you've thought about it from this perspective, is you could inspire somebody to be the next DJ.
So we did, which is really fun. Her name is Notorious STR. Her name is Starla. She's now in 6th grade. She helped me DJ as a 5th grader last year, Orchard View Elementary School's Reading Incentive Dance Party. And then just completely by coincidence, a booking agency in DC reached out to me and they said, do you happen to know any kid DJs? We have a summer learning conference at the Mayflower Hotel and they are trying to look for childhood vendors. And I was like, I do. And
as a matter of fact,
a couple of weeks ago, Starla got to DJ at the Mayflower for a conference of summer learning. It was a bunch of vendors providing services for schools and teachers, and she killed it. Loved it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that is
awesome.
So cool.
And we do a lot with the Evans home. My grandparents moved to Winchester in the 70s to take over as house parents there.
Okay.
And following them, my dad and aunts all ended up in the area too. So my grandparents have since passed, and so has my dad and one of my aunts who all worked there. One aunt is still here, and she'll be mad if I don't bring her up. Her name is Dorcas. She's awesome. She and I still do a lot with Evans Home for that reason.
That was the
Wingathon.
Yeah, Wingathon. First off, I love wings. So
next year,
please. I'm not trying to boast or brag. There was a winging contest many years ago that I did win. So,
you can challenge our 2-year reigning champ. His name is Kyle Feldman. He ate 75 this year.
All right. I got to do some eating.
You got training.
I got to get some.
But it's a lot of fun. We raised about in between $7,000 and $8,000 for the Evans Home this year.
That is awesome.
With 5 or 6 people eating chicken wings at Fabrisa. It was great.
Can't go wrong.
No, it's a really fun, easy fundraiser. So we try to do things like that throughout the year. There's a project I'm excited for that I want to launch next spring called the Family Portrait Project, where we provide studio level photographs of families, print them. We have photo booth printers. I've got printers. I should be doing this. Frame them and then give them to the families before they leave. And hopefully it can grow into something where they can also learn about services and have access to important resources while there. But for now, the vision is to give families who do not have time, do not have funds, or have never had the opportunity to hang a photo of their family in their home. I think that's important. I think it builds memory. I think it builds unity in a family. I think it gives parents vision for what they're fighting for. I think it gives kids perspective on what their parents are doing for them. And so many of us just grew up with like a staircase full of photos. But I've been in people's homes where there's no photos.
They don't. Yeah. That is, it goes a long way. And I mean, even just bringing it up, I picture my parents' house where they had it was like a frame of a school frame, right? And it had, 12 spots. So every year you get to update it with the new picture. And just like little things like that, I would look at it all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, look where I've come from. So you're right. It's something a lot of people don't think about, stuff like that. And it's a small effort that could go a very, very long way. So, being able to make connections like that with families and giving them that opportunity, it's a good cause and a good way of. And then also, from a business perspective, you're now getting your name out even more, right? Your networking, your marketing.
That is happening.
That's obviously not the first push for it. That's not the main
It's definitely
goal.
in a very expensive way to achieve visibility.
Yeah.
But as far as better, financially speaking, opportunities for that, we do a lot of work locally with the Chamber of Commerce. That is a doorway to hundreds, if not thousands, of local businesses.
Yeah.
And we are a member of the Shenandoah Wedding Professionals. So that is a small, there's only so many spots per vendor team of a referral network. We get together once a month for dinner and try to stay relevant, try to know what everybody is working on, and how we can continue to collaborate and make it so everybody succeeds.
So it's very similar to like a BNI group.
It's very similar to a BNI group.
Wedding specific.
It's wedding specific. Okay. And we get to eat really well because the caterers are usually the ones making the dinner. So, and we have like the night where Summit is supposed to provide all the fun. And so like we go to different venues and places around the area that are hosting weddings. And so it's really, really fun. It's an incredibly collaborative group. It's something I look forward to every month. I hate when I miss it. And so we're part of that. There's also the Magnolia Collective, which is a organization for wedding venues or wedding vendors to come together for bridal shows and sell our services to brides and grooms and in more of a kind of cattle call setting where they're coming through.
They just kind of walk through. I've been to one, and it's very interesting because it's at most of the night or most of the afternoon. It was there wasn't a lot going on, and then all of a sudden everybody came out of nowhere, and you're like, okay, form a line, you know. But no, it's a good way of getting out there, especially, you know, with you know the industry that you're in. You can set up a photo booth. You can set up all your what you offer, and say, here it is. This is exactly what you would be renting, and you know, even just maybe drop a couple tracks and get the event going, maybe as an option as well. But yeah, no, that's I'm interested in the wedding group you're talking about. It's
Shenandoah Wedding Professionals.
Yeah.
Super awesome group. There are other groups like it.
Yeah.
Generally they're regional. I don't know of many others here. That is the one that I know of. And then Magnolia Collective. And Michelle's main event, she is a wedding planner. She hosts a very large bridal show each year in our area. Those are the two that we're most present in. We'll peek around and do some others, and then we do the DC bridal show.
That's a big one.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
November 19th at the Convention Center. But West Oaks is hosting the Magnolias Wedding Collective show on November 19th as well at West Oaks.
You are name dropping so many different places.
Michelle's main event's January 28th.
Yeah. We can we'll make sure we get stuff in the description for sure. All right, so we're gonna we'll take another turn, right? We're gonna keep moving through. So where do you see Summit going in the next 5 years, right? Where do you see kind of obviously innovating, right? Mm-hmm. But you know, are you trying to expand more? Are you trying to maintain? Obviously trying to maintain, but like where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so I think for the next year at least, we are going into an enrichment phase. So like I said, I feel like we came out of the pandemic alive. We were there, we were present, we were able to do people's events. At that time, all sorts of markets were crazy, real estate all over the place. I bought so much equipment that year in 2022 that is all worth so much more now.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, just the prices have all gone up. Like, sure. I wouldn't be able to afford it almost now.
Oh, wow.
And so we are now also well poised to execute multiple events where there's a lot of folks who are going to be a guy with a pickup truck for a while. And so we went through 2023 staffing up. Like, we're like, we need to get high quality staff. We need to get them well trained, get experience, and have a great team. We had existence, we had equipment, we had staff. And so this year we're really focusing on making sure that we are utilizing people to the best of their abilities, equipment to the best of its ability, and building a brand that, I mean, we have our brand, but like building our brand to a point where it is at the best version of itself that it can be. And then after, hopefully then grow again. Like, we go from there and make sure everything is replicable, make sure everything is consistent, make sure everything is excellent for our clients, for whether it's couples or corporate or private events. We are doing them well. And so in 5 years, I really would love for this to be $1 million company. Like,
That's a good goal.
Yeah, and I think it's a reasonable one.
It's
and
achievable for sure. Yeah.
For that to take place, though, this enrichment process needs to happen. For us, in 5 years, I think will be one of two things. We will either be exactly as we are, bigger, or exactly as we are, doing less but charging more. We'll see.
Which either way,
it's going to be up to the market.
Yeah.
And just how this enrichment year goes. I am excited about both options. We're already in a phase where I am phasing out of the number of events that I'm doing a year, in which case, in order to have me on the event, it has to come from a referral on a list.
Okay.
Or it costs more.
Because you want to...
I've got to do less if I'm going to keep doing it as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm running the company.
And yeah, because you're bringing on more behind the scenes as far as, or taking on more on your plate, right? So stepping away from weddings to be able to do that, that's got to be a balance.
It is a balance.
And I guess it kind of sparked a thought is, so with having all these different DJs, all these different event staff, what does your training look like as far as like, are you trying to stay as consistent with everyone you get? Or
that is a great question.
I guess another way to put it is like, do you let whoever is running that event kind of be their own?
Such an important question. For summit events, we have a very intentional and specific roadmap for what it looks like to be on staff. For, let's say, a DJ, we hire people based on three main characteristics: kindness, reliability, and problem solving. We feel like if you are a kind person that can solve problems and show up on time and just do what you say you're going to do, I can teach you the rest, because I didn't know how to DJ. I do now. But I can't teach you how to be kind.
Side note, out of all the weddings I've done, I'm pretty sure you're up there.
I appreciate it.
DJs that
I've come a long way from doing friends' weddings in their backyard. But the skills are there, and I can teach. The skills are learnable. What I don't have time for is teaching you how to be kind or teaching you how to be reliable. I do not have time to hold your hand through that. Yeah. And I do not have time to teach you how to be self-reliant problem solver who has personal ownership over the event you're doing. Yeah. Because I need somebody that's like, oh, that didn't work. Well, I'm done. I'm going home. That can't happen at a wedding.
I think in every industry that is involved in the wedding, there's always something that goes wrong. Always. Whether you forget, the one day I forgot the cord that runs from my audio from like the adapter that I have on top of my camera, that little cord. I had an aux cord in my car. I was like, perfect. Yeah. So, but having that idea of like, oh, you can't just go, oh, well, I can't capture any of the audio today.
That's not an option.
Yeah, you have to problem solve.
You have to figure it out
right there. And usually it's when you go to grab it and you're like, I need this right now, like literally right now. And then but no, that's exactly you can.
So we're not hiring DJs typically.
Okay.
It's happened, but that's not how we typically go about it. We're not hiring somebody who has 5 years experience running photo booths. Like, that's not a thing. We might have made it a thing with our team, but it's not typically a thing. And so we hire for those character traits, and then it is a long process. So typically a DJ on our team will be working with us for a year before going out on an event by themselves.
Sure.
So they have to go through a minimum of 10 shadows on a wedding where they are going for the entire length and they are performing the entire job underneath of a veteran DJ on the team. So, the first one, they're just going to go and watch. And then we're going to debrief.
Be a sponge.
We're going to say, what did you notice? What do you think you can handle? Is this something you're interested in continuing to pursue? Do you need, and we kind of just say, hey, we're going to have 10 tryouts where you get to decide, no hard feelings, you're in or you're out.
Yeah.
And we're going to have 10 tryouts where we could cut you kind of at any point. But
once you get through the
10
initiation,
then we start booking you. But those bookings are going to be 6 to 12 months out. So these guys and girls that are coming on, they're long-term vision people. Like they know that this is going to take a while. You don't just show up with my equipment,
my brand,
yeah,
my
1
name.
week later and do a wedding well. It's also just like we want to set you up for success. So that takes time. And typically by 10, we have spent 80 to 100 hours with this person. We have a very good idea of who they are and what they're capable of if they've been on time each time. And now what's not captured in those 10 wedding shadows are all the other shadows of the birthday parties, the homecomings, the proms, the 7-Eleven store openings, like whatever other events we're doing. They're also going and doing all of the tangible functions of that event, except the emceeing and the mixing. Okay. Then we have Sean, our director of sales and training. He spends time, and you go through literally a curriculum of how to DJ, how to mix, and then we gift them an entire catalog of usable transitions. And then Sean physically teaches them how to do that, how to get from one song to another using this effect with this BPM. And you go into a wedding with a toolkit of transitions that I have learned, that Sean has made up, whatever. And then from there, sure, you want to try something you think that works, great. But you're going in with so much confidence. Like it'd be like going in not with just a shot list for your wedding, but like you already had 15 pictures taken before you'd even gotten there somehow. Like it is
sets you up
the
for
hardest
success.
part. Is the hardest part.
Yeah.
And then we just culminate all of our experience when it comes to this wedding is going this way, this wedding is going that way, and that group they can jump on and be like, hey, turns out half the people at this wedding are Latina. What do I play? Like, I'm lost.
There's the problem solving.
Yeah, and then somebody just sends them, hey, here's the songs I played at mine. Here's my mix folder. Here's my whatever. Like, and so the team aspect is just so great for that. And so they're seeing, we also avoid the silo effect. So, like, they're not shadowing me only.
You're hitting different.
You're hitting different members of our team.
That's
and so
smart.
You're getting
that
to see variation. You're getting to see individualization. And we've got guys that bring different strengths. And so we have Joe, who's getting a PhD in music. He really knows how to run the circle of fifths. Like he knows how to move between keys during the dancing so that everything sounds like it's supposed to be coming next.
Yeah.
And then we have folks like Riley or Ophi or Tyler who can also play music. And so they might play your cocktail hour, live. And so that's something you can have with your DJ, which is really exciting. Or your first dance even, if it's an acoustic song. Like that's something they can add in. And then we have the wedding band too. Yeah. So we have a whole band performance. But they bring so much. That's a very individualized thing. Yeah. But yeah, so it's a little bit of both, but I would say the brand consistency is important for us. And so about 90% of what you get is going to be exactly the same no matter which DJ on our team you receive.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a very good answer.
That's pretty much our training process. There's more to it, but that's
a good
skeleton.
overview, but that is, I think it's a very strong process, a very good, and I like the, you're shadowing 10 times, but you're not going to then be booked out for months later, because then you get to see who's actually really committed.
Yeah, and then
who wants to be a part of it.
Most of them continue to assist on gigs between. Sure. And so by the time they get to that wedding, they've worked 20 or 30.
Oh yeah, they're pros at that point.
Yeah.
All right, so I have two. One's a really quick, super easy answer.
Mm-hmm.
The other one might have a little bit of thought. So we'll go easy first, right? So what areas do you guys cover? I'm assuming it's Shenandoah Valley area. You're talking about going to Tucson, so it sounds like you have a very wide range of area.
So I would say we probably do about half of our service in the Shenandoah Valley, Clark County, Loudoun County. We do the majority of our business in that little boomerang-like shape. Then we do have quite a presence in the 95 corridor. So D.C., Fredericksburg, Richmond, and then we'll do a little bit in Newport News, Virginia Beach. So we have a team down there, the Summit team that handles most of the events down there. And then we've got a couple of folks close into D.C. So we'll do Baltimore too. But like Baltimore, D.C., down through Richmond, and into Virginia Beach. So we kind of, and of course everything in between, but those are the two that highlight really, really brightly.
And that's weddings and events. Like
Weddings and
just
events.
Anything
That you can
between.
imagine. We will travel and go beyond. So I do have a lot of friends from college in the Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area. So I do still do several weddings there. I think I've had 3 or 4 this year where I've been in Western Pennsylvania. And then, we will travel, and it just depends on the service and what you want and what we're getting after, where we'll go. But I've been to Dallas, Chicago, San Francisco. I'm going back to San Francisco this December, Tucson, and it's really fun. It is always a challenge in not everybody is the same everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Surprise. And so reading a room isn't always going to be the same. Just like reading the room at, downtown on a holiday club kind of vibe versus a wedding at a golf club. You're going to have different room to read.
Yeah.
But sometimes there are some very large regional or cultural differences, and that is both fun and challenging. But one in particular that I'd like to highlight is, like, we do several Indian weddings a year. None of us speak Hindi or anything. But key signatures and beats per minute stay the same. And so we often can still mix the tracks and know what's going on because of the math, the universal language. And so that's really, really fun and can be fun to really challenge ourselves to do something out of the norm, play music we don't know the words to.
But it's all
up there.
Wow.
And we have 2 bilingual DJs. So I don't do too many Spanish speaking events, but even at the same time, you just listen to it in advance, and if you know the functions of an event really, really well, and the only new thing is these songs I've never heard before.
Yeah.
It's a really cool experience because you're not so stressed out.
And it kind of goes and shows that music can really, is universal. You can really kind of bring people together. The last wedding that I was a second shooter for, same thing. It was country and a Mexican background, and the DJ did a decent job of bringing it together. But to me, in my head, I was like, how in the world? But it makes sense, right? Beats per minute. There's different things that you look for as far as.
And sometimes you just got to package it up into different times. Like, we're going to appeal to the older Motown crowd right now.
Yeah.
We're going to have a salsa section. Then we're going to do some, classic banger sing-alongs, and then maybe we'll bring in some merengue. So like you might have to section it off a little bit.
That's where you do your research.
You're not just going to always be playing like YMCA over the Machado. Like that's not going to work.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to, and again with weddings or longer parties, you got hours.
Yeah.
So it's okay that you might not appeal to everybody the whole time.
No, but it's good to
reading a room is how do you keep people having fun in a way where they're like, oh, well, now they're having fun. I should let them have a turn. Like you can do that. Or it's like my turn to go to the photo booth. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like you're hedging your bets with the services.
And that really kind of shows the in-depth in knowledge, right? And being able to read the room, being able to understand, okay, I got everybody on the dance floor. I don't want to play a slow song. Or I got everybody out here, let's kind of ease into that next, I guess, subcategory of what you're playing so that people will continue to enjoy it, right? Because, like I said, music is music. Like, if it gets you moving, regardless of the style, the genre, the language, whatever it is, like, it's just going to keep people moving, right?
And flow is important.
Yep.
Getting there in a way that makes sense is important. We actually have a game that we play during training where we give you 2 songs that are very different from one another, and you have to get there in 3 songs.
Okay.
But you have 10 minutes because you have the length of the songs.
Yeah.
You just have to get to the next one, but you can listen to them because you're playing one on one deck, and you can listen to the other one on the other deck.
See, that's the stuff I don't understand totally about DJing is how you can have one song playing and making sure that that's running smooth while also like preparing the next song to come up.
Yeah,
that's
a DJ's mind during an event is like a Formula One race. Like the amount of information you're processing, you're also trying to look fun. Like you're not trying to look like somebody doing math.
Yeah.
You are reading the room. Reading the room is a really easy thing to say, but what does that mean? It means you're making eye contact. You're looking at people's body language. You're seeing who's not on the floor. You're seeing where the couple is.
Reactions.
You're seeing are they dancing or are they just moving? Like are they having fun or are they waiting for the next song? And organizing all that information while trying to pick the next song, not knowing anyone's opinion of that song.
Yeah.
You're going off your past experience. You're going off the beats per minute. You're going off of the energy of that song. Because there are some songs at 86 beats per minute and 130 beats per minute. They're the same energy. Wrong beat.
Yeah.
So we'll set up this challenge where it's like, okay, here's, I'm just going to make up random stuff. So like, here's like, I want to dance with somebody, Whitney Houston, but you've got to get to Drop It Like It's Hot. How do you get there in a way that makes sense?
And
because those songs, I'm fairly confident, are not in the same key. So you that's not a shortcut.
Yeah.
And you need to get to a series of songs that gets you to that goal. Or if you're in, like you're playing maybe like a salsa Cuban kind of set, you've got like Hips Don't Lie and Pepas. How do you get down to, Ed Sheeran Perfect? Like, how do you just get there?
Yeah.
And so then we'll spend a few minutes and they'll DJ the songs and because that's what happens live. Somebody will come up and request this song and you're like, that will work. I know this room, but I can't do it right now. Or like you just opened the dance floor. It's 7 p.m. The sun is out and they want the wobble.
Yeah.
And you're like, you gotta give me a minute.
Yeah, we gotta work up to that. You can't just jump into the wobble.
That's a lot of the mental computing going on, but it is a fun game to try to see how. Give me 3 songs. You got 3 songs.
Very interesting. See, and it's all about perspective because, from a videographer standpoint, I don't have a lot of DJing background.
No,
right?
and that'd be
I can
a
play
completely
a really
useless
good
exercise
Pandora
for you.
station, but that's about the extent of what I can do. And it's not something that I'm interested from a knowledge perspective, but it's not like I'm like, all right, let me just start DJing tomorrow. But knowing because from a videographer, I'm like, okay, going from each section of the wedding, right? We have the getting ready, right? Then you have the ceremony. And then, my brain is being turned off. I don't want to say turned off, but I kind of, after the ceremony and everything's good there, I kind of like, okay, all right, now I can relax a little bit. Where from your perspective, that's the complete opposite. Now you're like, all right, now this is the night is mine now to do with and grow and get people going. Whereas so that perspective of where the night is, and then also your challenges along those times, it's very interesting because you don't think about it, especially from somebody that doesn't know how to DJ. You just think, hey, they're just playing song. Hey, that was a good mix. Where
that took me 6 months.
Yeah, there's a lot of thought to go into it. So that's pretty cool.
So we, in our training, and I love that any answer that I give you is consistent across our team, which is really fun. We view the wedding in thirds, and it's hurry up and wait. Like that is the DJ life. You've got to get there 2 hours early to set up and then just wait. You got to work really, really hard and just wait. Then the first third is the ceremony. That is important. That is, you got to nail it. Like everybody's got to be able to hear the officiant, the vows, any other readings, the music. Like if you play the wrong song when the bride comes down, that's bad. That is very bad.
That's a bad
decision. It does not. That doesn't happen. Yeah. I don't think that's ever happened. But theoretically, it could. So that's a lot of pressure. But then cocktail hour, there's not a lot of pressure.
You just kind of keep
so
people
you're waiting
interested.
again.
Yeah.
And then you have to do the introductions, first dance, parent dances, maybe toasts, dinner. Then another third. You've got maybe the toasts, cake cutting, or whatever trend is going on, dancing. And that's a solid third. But cocktail hour and dinner is just sit there and wait. Just sit there and wait. Now, you can DJ through those, but they're low pressure. And most, I don't know if I know of a single DJ that just completely goes 8 hours without eating so that they can live mix every section. But, most of the time for dinner, we will put on a playlist, eat our dinner, come back, work.
Yeah.
But
rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
It's a long day.
It's a long day. But all those little moments take so much effort, like the toasts, because we're going around and we're checking in. We've never met these people before, right? We haven't really had the opportunity. We might have sent an email, but they don't know. We don't know if they've read it. Of like, here's where the mic's going to be. Please hold it this way. Do not touch the power button. It will already be on. Just like we need to coach every single person through that. And so we are running around a little bit during dinner and cocktail or whatever.
Yeah, that's
lining them up because we don't know who they are, really.
Yeah.
We have their names. We don't know who they are. So if they're lined up wrong, we won't know to not say that name. Everybody else in the room will. And we'll just look like an idiot.
That's not Joe.
Yeah. And so like those little moments are something that like take a lot of pre-planning experience and just getting used to it. But yeah, the hurry up and wait in thirds is kind of like how we
and it
operate
kind
a wedding.
Goes off of the three factors of as hiring, right? That personality, being able to come up and be like, hey, are you so-and-so? Right? Or be like, hey, all right, I need kind of controlling the room because with people getting lined up, you have a very short window. Plus, you got to get back and get ready to go before they actually start.
Or you have a
walking
really great day of coordinator / wedding planner who's doing their job and is running the day, and so that is super valuable. So never skimp on the wedding planner, but
for sure that is going to be like the number one highlight.
That could be my new tagline
on the wedding
never
planner.
Skimp on the wedding planner.
There's somewhere the one that comes into my head. I'm not going to drop names or anything like that. But there was a situation that came up, and it was one of those where the question was asked, and we all kind of like turned towards the wedding planner, and really all they had was just like, I was like, okay, all right, we can work with it. That's no problem. But like you said, never skimp on the wedding planner for sure. All right. So my final question for you would be advice to anybody that's looking like, hey, I got a business idea. What should I do?
Just start. It doesn't need to be perfect. You don't have to have everything planned out, but just begin. Starting small is great. Start lean, build as you go. You don't need to have it perfectly laid out exactly and have an accountant and a lawyer or like any of these things. That's for big, maybe one day. But I once consulted a student on a business where he was cleaning people's Nikes, and he was just cleaning them at first for favors and barters, and then he was like, well, I'm good, give me $50. And I mean, like, he really cleaned these shoes. And then next thing you know is people are mailing them to him. Then he went and registered a business name, got the local business license, and has been good. So it's okay to start small. No one is coming to knock down your door and find you out. You're not going to get sued for all those back taxes in your opening year. No. Just once you've realized, sometimes you don't even realize you're running a business. Once you've made, like, I think, what is it, over $600 from one person or like $4,000 total, you're basically a business.
Yeah.
It's a very low threshold. But figure out what it is you're already doing that you already enjoy or would like to do. But even better, if you're already doing it and monetize it. I already had speakers. I already knew how to hit a play button. And I'm already going to that friend's wedding. That's how it started. I was like, I can bring it. I can hit play.
Yeah.
Don't expect too much from me. And it just started that way. And over time, got better stuff, charged more. Got better stuff, charged more.
I'm same way. It wasn't even a wedding. It was a car show. Somebody at the place I worked was like, hey, I know the owner of such and such car show. They want somebody that can take pictures. At the time, you didn't have to do all the fancy drone license and everything. So I was like, yeah, I can do it. And it was one of those where I was like, looking back, I was like even the whole metric of like how I charged, like what I did, what the deliverables were, everything. I was like, man, where I've come from since that shoot. But it's the same thing. I was like, yeah, I think it was like $10 an hour. At the time, I was like, yeah, perfect, whatever. Going back now, I'd probably charge per event, right? Make it a little bit more. Because I did catch myself like looking, well, if I stay for another 20 minutes, that's another hour. And like, then you're like, okay, now you're splitting hairs. But you're right. Start small, lean, and then grow into it, right? And then don't be afraid to take what you're making from what you start and put it right back into the business, right? And that's exactly what I did. So
Yeah, it's a great approach. Anything worth starting is worth starting poorly. You can make it better.
Yeah.
You can figure it out. What happens so many times is people just kind of catch the fear and they don't start.
Yeah.
Or they feel like they've got to invest in all of this stuff before they can even begin. The first photo booth we ever had was a camera we didn't truly understand how to operate on a tripod behind a table that had a 32-inch screen TV on it and then a laptop, and there's just cords everywhere so that they can see themselves, and then there's a printer, and there's just it's chaos. I can't believe people gave me money. Like, looking back, like, and I feel like that's maturity and that's growing up, is like looking back and looking at yourself and be like, how did I even have friends with all the weird things I used to love and do and think, and the same thing with your business. Like, looking back every couple of years might make you cringe, but that means you're growing and you're seeing like, okay, like we start like. The reason people booked us was because of the experience and our staff and what we were offering, not what it looked like. But increasing that shows value to future clients that we're investing in ourselves, and we do care about being better and growing. And when they see that, then they continue to grow off that confidence. But if you have any questions about starting a business, logistically, like how to get a name, how to get a tax ID, there is a group at Laurel Ridge Community College that will hold your hand, do it completely free. It's Small Business Alliance, and it is an awesome service. So no matter what you think about where you are in the process, you can go to them and they'll help you.
Yeah, no, that's going back on your looking back on the business. It's funny because I document things for a living, right? So I can go back and look at like things I did months, years
exactly
back,
as
and
it was.
I'm like, man, like what I would do to go back and change it up or do something different. And just, it's one of those where you're exactly right. Like you can see the progression of you growing. So for sure. No, it's definitely a process. There are resources, like you said, right, that will kind of walk you through, hold your hand as best they can, which is good, which is really good. And beneficial for people that don't know. Like, luckily I had a little bit of a background with a business degree from Shenandoah. So I generally knew the idea of a business, but for somebody that's like, I focus in shoe cleaning. I don't know how to run a business. There's resources for you. It's scary at first, but you can grow into it.
Yeah. And again, you can utilize platforms like Etsy or Amazon for different service deliveries, and then you don't have to worry about those logistics. And then you could pivot at some other point. Like, there's so many opportunities for just getting started.
Yeah.
And I love consulting business models. So if anybody ever has any questions or wants to run an idea of like, how would I monetize this? Happy to talk about it.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. I appreciate you giving all the time that you have to come and chat it up and tell your business life story.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity. Side hustle turned into the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's
the point.
That's exactly it, right? And that's just keep moving forward is the biggest thing. So I'm going to go ahead and link everything in the description that we talked about, all the resources that you're bringing up, all your information, everything will be down there. So if people have an event, they know who to go to.
We can help make it better.
Absolutely. So, all right. Thank you for everything. Thanks.